Austria's gay prison movie Great Freedom in Oscar race hunt. Watch this.
Wie viel haben denn dir gegeben?
12 Monate. Dir?
Mehr.
Hey! Die Leute perversen nicht bei mir. So sieht man sie wieder.
Immer noch da.
Und du? Immer noch pervers? Die stecken die vom KZ im Bau. Könnt ihr das wegmachen? Was soll es denn werden?
Mach einfach.
Was sollen wir machen, Hans?
Alles. Alles, was wir wollen. Du gehörst nicht hierher.
Und du?
Bist du eifersüchtig?
Nein, ich mach mir einfach Sorgen.
Hm. Um mich.
Was machst du deppert?
Ich kann dir helfen, Viktor. Wenn du willst.
Ja,
Nur, dass du mir keine reinhaust.
what's up?
In most stories, the liberation of the concentration camps is the beginning of the end of a nightmare. But Austrian film Great Freedom shows that the truth wasn't as simple for everyone. In many cases, LGBTQ+ concentration camp inmates were simply transferred to prison cells. Germany's paragraph 175, a provision of a German criminal code that reigned from 1871 to shockingly early 1994, criminalizing all homosexual acts between men. The story is told through the eyes and heavy, wearied soul of the fictional Hans Hoffmann, who was repeatedly imprisoned over decades in post-World War II Germany for being gay. Over the course of the imprisonment, Hans forms a deep but often volatile bond with longtime cellmate Viktor, at turns platonic, romantic, sexual, and parasitic, as Hans slowly resigns himself to the belief that life won't change and his may perhaps even be best lived out within the drab, crumbling walls of the dank prison.
Tough subject.
Wow, very tough.
It's a story that I'm glad is being told. It has rarely been told in America, but tens of thousands of concentration camp victims, like the one depicted here, did spend years and years after the horrors of the Holocaust in prison. So it's great to see this story, and it's great to see it getting some Oscar recognition, hopefully, in the foreign language film.
I initially saw this story and I got all excited because I thought it was a gay prison, right? And I was like, yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm in. And then I started reading the story and I was like, God, this is very drab and sad, you know? And then I started reading more of the history and I was like, wow, this story really needs to be told. You know, I'm not big on subtitles because I miss what's going on the screen, but it seemed like it was just very flowy, like it would be easy to watch. So I'm
Schaefer, I'm curious, what's your reaction to this storyline? Especially, it flows out of the Jewish solution of the Holocaust. Right? Any thoughts, feelings?
It does. It really strikes a raw and emotional chord with not only, you know, what I grew up learning about the Holocaust as a Jewish person, but also the first-hand accounts from Holocaust survivors, and to see a raw and powerful story on screen that even more people can relate to and understand more about the horrors of the Holocaust, but just how afterwards people's lives were impacted, especially with a focus on the LGBTQ+ community, is so important to continue to tell this horrible story, but to also bring people in that may not feel like they were included, you know, in the understanding of this story, if that makes sense. And I think I really look forward to watching it. I know I'm going to cry. I was ready for Oz, just like Faye, but I was ready. I was ready for some Christopher Maloney. But in all seriousness, it's an important topic, very personal to me and the people that I know. And of course, our wider community as well.
You know, go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say, as usual, the ladies on this show are gayer than the boys. But I think it's important to note that a queer-themed film that's getting this major Oscar nod.
Absolutely.
How wonderful is that for our community?
And you know, specifically, there's so many people of what we've watched over the last 4 years and so much white supremacy issues in the United States. There's a whole core of Americans that deny that the Holocaust even happened. And the Holocaust and the Jewish solution and the concentration camps and the imprisonment and the implementation of that, frequently it is forgotten that the pink triangle was the creation of the gay solution in Nazi Germany. And that story is rarely told in the degree of the dramatic loss of life in World War II. And this story, I think, is super important because first, it draws attention, as terrible as the Holocaust was for the Jewish community, at least we weren't gay. There's a hierarchy, even in the Holocaust, of a reduction of the value of life or death of LGBT, gay people. And this movie is important to be able to tell that story and provide some attention to that story. So over the next 6 to 8 weeks, I think very important for us to follow because it's a very, very important story. And you know, I'm a real big believer of the real smartest people on this planet always remind us, which are historians, to tell you that if you don't know your history, history repeats. And isn't that what we've watched in the last 4 years? Isn't that what we're watching in Washington right now? History repeats. And if we don't want that history to continue, and this movie shows you an example of it, we have to pay attention. And that's one of the tremendous values of this movie.
And I have to say, just in closing, Al, what happened in Texas this past weekend is testament to many who want to see the Jewish community erased from the world and who will do whatever that takes to do that.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ